Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm your host, Dilbar Shatterson, and today we're coming to you from Staten Island, where the waves you see here were once a devastating force of nature 1 year ago during Superstorm Sandy, where lives, homes, and livelihoods permanently transformed. But what's also permanently changed is our climate. And according to a September report released by the UN's International Panel on Climate Change, human influence is considered to be one of the most dominant factors of climate change in the past half-century. And here to help us better understand our carbon footprint is here with me now filmmaker Jeff Orlowski. So thank you for being with us, Jeff.
Thank you very much, yeah.
So in the film, you follow the photographer James Blaylock. So tell me a little bit about the discoveries that you made.
Through this project, through the Extreme Ice Survey, we had the opportunity to go to Greenland and to Iceland and Alaska and see all around the Northern Hemisphere how ice is changing and how it's changing very rapidly. How
do you feel that being able to see it firsthand gives you an advantage in telling this kind of story?
Being able to go to those places, Greenland, Iceland, and Alaska, and other Arctic regions, you actually see the process of climate change in action. You see where the ice is melting, where it's transferring from glaciers directly to sea level rise. And so it's a very tangible way for people to wrap their heads around this invisible problem of climate change. And we were trying to visualize that for people.
So with that, let's actually go take a look and see exactly what's happened since the storm.
As this storm moves farther north, it will expand. It's just really moving into a question of where.
The East Coast grinding to a halt as Hurricane Sandy prepares to make landfall.
We should not underestimate the impact of this storm, and we should not assume the predictions will be wrong.
This is a serious and big storm.
The MTA has announced that they will start shutting down service. The subway starting at 7 tonight.
Tens of thousands of people were ordered to evacuate coastal areas on Sunday as Hurricane Sandy is on her way.
I've never witnessed anything like this.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
What the hell is this? Something, yeah, just exploded.
We are hoping there are no people still in these homes because there's not much left.
We knew that Hurricane Sandy was going to be serious. The city also gave warnings for previous hurricanes, and then they didn't cause serious damage. But when I woke up in the morning, Chinatown called and said they established an emergency relief center.
说那边已经成立几级救难中心。
有红绿灯哦，但它这里都没有红绿灯的。这个 area 昨天晚上8点钟以后都没有 power。
During the power outage that lasted for 2 days, we thought about how we would be able to provide hot food.
抓紧这里有电，其他的梅坦跟东岸人都没有电，那所以我们就从这里先煮，煮了以后先把这个先弄过去。
Someone from the office called me and said, hey, we need people to help out in Chinatown, or we have to cook in the dark, and then we have to bring the food to the shelter. That's my very first shooting of Sandy.
We received a call from the Red Cross indicating that in Staten Island, areas neighboring the ocean were in critical condition. Brother George leaded us to those areas to investigate the extent of damage.
出去的车子这个汽油一定要准备充足。
However, we didn't have gasoline. Volunteers from Washington, D.C. and Boston brought container after container of gasoline to the office. The situation at that time still scares me to this day.
Avenue 一直到那个民众，这整个区都是，几乎都全部水都淹进来了。那时候我们看到真的是满目苍夷。我们那时候
It was devastating. The Salvation Army and Red Cross had mentioned that hot food would be needed. We brought with us 300 servings of egg soup on our first trip.
300份的蛋花汤。We bring it from Queens. Anyone need a hot soup?
They're all cleaning up their home. In such cold weather, what they needed most was something warm.
Good, very good.
Sir, you want some soup? No? You had enough?
We were going to distribute hot food by Far Rockaway. When we got there, we saw a mountain of clothes.
People from all over the country have been driving truckloads of clothes and food down here. We are so grateful to everybody who has come down. Your organization, if our government forgets us, our neighbors aren't going to forget us.
By the shore, winds always gush. How do we work without power? Fortunately, at that time, DC volunteers sent over a generator.
志工很努力的在架设这个灯，因为在这里没有电的状态之下，又要能够进行发放的工作，真的是很不容易。
Thank you so much, Mother. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We felt we haven't done a lot. However, we wished to do as much as we could, so we came to help. Everyone knew it would be very cold, but I felt warm in my heart.
At the time, Brother George started communicating with U.S. headquarters, and we established an emergency relief center in the eastern region.
All the funds we give come from individual contributions.
Tzu Chi volunteers around the world worked hard to fundraise for us, so we had to use each penny carefully. We had to plan how we would distribute the goods to the victims.
The reason you are here is we are looking for vulnerable households that we can continue to help them. So we figured out we need your help.
All these COA volunteers, they are hurricane victims too. This gives us an opportunity to go to their communities and do some distribution. They know Tzu Chi and they want to do something like what we do, giving back to the community.
God bless America, my home.
Because we live in the U.S., most of our lives we stay in the U.S. We're growing up and planting our roots here. When we sang the song, we were all emotionally touched. Nothing in words can describe what we felt. Because we are all families. Today, if we can connect all ethnicity groups and can unite as one, we have to do it from our communities to have everyone connecting physically and emotionally, regardless of differences in culture and ethnicity. We have to let them feel love, compassion. I believe America can awaken and can help its neighboring countries in need. While some progress has certainly occurred since the storm, Jeff, as a native Staten Islander, how do you feel something like Sandy impact your community? How does it feel to see that in the place where you grew up?
Everybody got to see a lot of horrific footage coming out of Sandy. We were in New York releasing Chasing Ice right about that time as well, which was kind of shocking, the juxtaposition of our film about climate change and seeing the real tangible consequences of climate change happening. You know, it was devastating to see these impacts happening to places where I grew up. The pond nearby where I spent my childhood kind of learning how to fish in that pond, it's not there anymore. It completely was breached by Sandy and it's just all salt water now. These consequences happened all across Staten Island, all across New York City, and it's having real impact on people's homes and people's families. To some degree, it's sad, but it requires events like this for people to understand what climate change means and what kind of impact it's going to have.
Now, in trying to alleviate some of the issues that come as a result of natural disasters, Master Jung Yan has often said, we are running out of time.
Yeah.
And there's a moment in the film where it mentions, we have no time.
Yeah.
So what's your take on time?
We're already seeing the consequences of climate change. There's been a five-fold increase in natural disasters in North America in the last 30 years. As people, as citizens of this planet, we're seeing consequences of man-made climate change already. That said, those circumstances are only going to get worse if we keep doing things at the status quo. We really need to change how we consume energy and where we get our energy from if we're going to live on a sustainable planet. If humanity is going to have a sustainable kind of infrastructure and foundation for us to have progress on top of.
Well, now let's go take a look and see another local who is working hard to make his community healthy.
The first cleanings that I did were knocking on doors and having to have doors slammed on me, or sometimes people were afraid. because there were so many people stealing, and from victims of Hurricane Sandy, they were lying to them and taking their money. So it was very difficult. Hola, Natalia. Yo me llamo John Reyes. Very frustrating, people closing the door. Here's a 6'4" man of color representing a Chinese organization. Somehow it didn't fit. ¿En qué manera le podemos ayudar nosotros? De Tzu Chi somos una foundation internacional. But knocking on doors and finally gaining entrance, letting them know what Tzu Chi was all about, how we want to help the victims of Hurricane Sandy. And then after one of them was helped, then they would spread the word to their neighbors, and it made it a lot easier. Yo me llamo John Reyes, soy de Tzu Chi. Nosotros no compartimos esta información con el gobierno. More than 100 screenings, 110 or so, and that is me taking the paperwork from the home screening, taking it back to the office, turning it in, and they review the information. I call them back, make a date to visit them, and then I come with 2 or 3 commissioners, volunteers, and I'm briefing them on the information before we get to the first home visit.
Okay, here we go. We're here.
Would you mind to tell us about this case?
The name is Natalia Perez. They just had a baby. First home visit, I become a translator, translating from English to Spanish, from Spanish to English. The commissioners can ask questions based on the information that I wrote, and they can ask additional questions so that they can determine what is the need of this family and how can we help them. It's right around this corner. Right around the corner.
It's court, right? I think this is the first court.
Yes. How you can find this place?
Yeah, the streets are so small.
You get a baby.
So that we can have more infusement of charity, love, respect, and the Tzu Chi way of hands-on charity.
After we interview with this family, so we have decide what kind of help we're going to help this family, right? 那我们这次我们就先决定先帮他们 baby 卡，先给他们一张。Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And
well over 250, 300 home visits with volunteers. All the work that we've done for Sandy victims. We're talking close to $10 million or more for close to 15,000 families. We've done so much, and we need to leave a legacy that respects all the hard work that we've put in.
I started going on home visit with the Tzu Chi team. The very first day on 17th of June, I think. And the phone number is 347. So I was really impressed, and I mean, the way it was organized, I mean, I have never seen such organized work before.
我们跑遍了大纽约地区。
We had visiting Greater New York area, Far Rockaway, Coney Island, Brighton Beach. We have seen different ethnic groups, their lives. They live in the dark corners of New York.
Salam, salam. Okay, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
अच्छा देसी में बोलना देसी पहले यहाँ रहता था मैं इस जगह पे रहते थे अच्छा he used to live here at the time of Sandy
but it closed हो गया
yeah it's closed actually his room is very small, and there is no space for even 2 people to stand there and interview him. That's why we are standing outside and we are interviewing him here. He says that he works like 8 to 10 hours a day, and they just pay him $150 for week. He's basically paying with this room like $500 for this small room. I mean, we came to know about his story, how he has to send back his family back to Pakistan after Hurricane Sandy because he has no place, and he lost everything over there. Sometimes he has to send them like $200 or $300, but when he is out of money, he cannot even send them those money. So they are living there, they are on their own right now. It's not the first time, it's I think second time I'm visiting him. At his workplace, I visited him twice. So I just wanted to see how he is working and what are the conditions in which he is working. They are really very tough. I felt like if anything I can do in any capacity so that he can be helped in one way or the other, or his life can become a little bit more easier. If I can do anything, believe me, if anything is in my hand, I'm going to do that. I'm a teacher.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is the love from the whole world.
I'm thankful to you and your organization and making him realize that we are all behind him. So it's really great. And I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Baba. Thank you.
Baba means thank you, guys. Really.
你看，在世界第一大城
但是你看看 Look at the largest city in the world. Look at all these people from different countries and different ethnic background that do not have legal status. Their life is very, very tough. Many of them do not know whether or not they can get their next meal. 他们都不知道他们的下一餐能不能够吃。 Volunteering with Tzu Chi is not tiring. It is actually fulfilling and joyful. I am really grateful Master Cheng Yen has shared her wisdom with us, allowing us to practice on the path of Bodhisattva and allowing us to appreciate the suffering people around the world have to endure.
Almost as much as we have new volunteers and community partners helping in our relief efforts, we've got new disasters springing up right and left. And of course, considering the floods that happened in Colorado recently, when I heard that you were also based in Colorado and also that your family home was hit here with Sandy, I thought, you can't get away from this.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you in Colorado?
Just a couple weeks ago, with the flooding in Colorado, we had to evacuate our office, and my house got very heavily damaged. I mean, floodwater was eroding away at the foundation of our house. Pylons had fallen out of the house. We had basically a river that went straight into my bedroom window and flooded the entire first floor of the house with 6 inches of mud. I mean, there was just so much destruction and so much that we just had to end up throwing out, and so much work that went into just keeping the house like stable and safe. These are things where, you know, I'd never expected a flood to come hit where I live. It's one of those once in 100-year events, but they're starting to happen much more frequently in these areas. There were people who died on my street in Colorado as well. These are real consequences. When people talk about, so what does climate change matter, they don't typically connect the dots to extreme weather like this. They think that, oh, we've always had hurricanes and storms, but they don't typically understand that we're making them worse right now.
So actually, in connection to Hurricane Sandy and also to the floods that happened in Colorado, those two natural disasters, there's actually a gentleman here in Staten Island who went to Colorado and also tried to apply the knowledge that he learned in Sandy there. So let's go take a look at him now.
My name is Mike Hoffman. I live on Staten Island. I currently work as a co-founder and board member for Yellow Boots Disaster Relief and assist the people affected in tragedy. Being that the way Sandy hit us, we're very familiar with the way floods and the different effects. And one of the main missions of Yellow Boots was to be able to respond and educate so other people aren't left dealing with it, not knowing anything the same way we were. So we took that knowledge, we brought it to Colorado to educate them, most specifically on, you know, the threats and the handlings and the preparedness and how to prevent, you know, major mold issues. You know, it's just lack of information. It's not common day knowledge. You know, you don't learn about mold and things like that on a regular basis unless you're a scientist. Well, Sandy helped change my career. Sandy took my job. So Sandy left me unemployed, and there was people in need. And I've said this before, there's certain times in your life where there's just a switch that clicks in you as a human being to do a more humanitarian thing, and there's things that are bigger than you yourself. You look at the hundreds of people in earshot that are affected, that were devastated, and you can't just sit back and do nothing.
So we came together on 9/11 to create a memorial for those that have passed during Hurricane Sandy.
You know, and people who come to visit can see the symbolism of how Staten Island came together strong and to overcome and to still keep, there's still the work that's ahead that we're still doing, going on. But to basically, to get people over the hump and to start getting everything back to the new normal.
That's not happening.
But between immediate needs all the way to restore, we've touched over 2,000 homes. Whether it be we provided them with clothing and furniture, you know, by connecting the dots, to doing the demo, to doing the mold remediation, to rebuild, to providing material so they can get the rebuild done. You know, we've touched homes in many different ways.
My name is Jason Vogel. I'm a local on Staten Island from South Beach, and I'm helping rebuild someone's home, get some kids back in the house for the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. Yeah, I've been here pretty much every day since day one, using the skills that I've known and also the skills that I've learned through other volunteers that have came out to give us a hand in helping rebuild people's homes. No money, no days off, but I have a good feeling in here. You know, it doesn't pay in money, but, you know, inside, you know, changing people's lives, that means a lot more to me. This lady, she was ready to give up on the house, just throw the keys in the mailbox and walk away, and we gave her hope.
My name is Maria Piazzio, and we're in the living room of my home in Newport Beach. We rip everything out, everything. So every single thing, appliances, floors, walls, furniture, garbage. Because of Yellow Boots, Jason and Mike, it's been gutted. The roof was fixed. Sheetrock was donated. Insulation was donated. It was demolded twice. So it's getting there, but it's a long process, and it's just being done by volunteers, so it's a lot on their shoulders. There are no words. They are the difference between coming home and never getting able to come home. They're the difference between hope and no hope. And they're family now. I mean, even when the house is built, they will always be a part of our lives.
Like when they're finally back home and they're like, they can like, you know, actually put the mailbox back up and get the mail and cook a meal at home, it's great. You know, it's fulfilling. You know, you made an impact and it changes someone's life. The White House Champions of Change, receiving that honor meant a lot to me, not because of the title, but more so because it was my peers and the people that I helped that nominated me. You know, that means I touched that person's life enough for them to take a moment out of their time and be thankful. And it means I did my job. And I have a great team around me, and we all have the same mission in mind, you know. So even though I was the one sitting in the chair, I represent the masses.
So Jeff, with all that's happened with Hurricane Sandy in Colorado, and also with what you've witnessed in making the film Chasing Ice, what would you say is one of the biggest things that you learned from all of this?
That climate change is a man-made problem, but it's also a man-solvable problem. Yeah, both myself and our whole team, we've really actively done as much as we possibly can to minimize our footprint as well. The film is carbon neutral through a sponsor that has helped us out with that. I think 8 different people on the team have switched over to driving hybrid cars. 2 of them are driving electric cars. So it's something where we're really trying to be as conscious as we can.
Speaking of the reality of Chasing Ice, at the very end there's a time-lapse sequence. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we show at the end of the film a bunch of different glaciers and what we've seen over the past 4, 5, or 6 years that we've been documenting them. And it's really powerful to watch as these glaciers are changing very quickly before your eyes. There's one glacier in particular, we show an animation where the glacier has retreated more in the last decade than it did in the last century prior to that. And when you start thinking about what those changes mean, yes, glaciers have been changing for thousands and thousands of years, but we're seeing now that it's changing faster in 10 years than it did in 100 years. And this is representative of what's happening to a lot of different glaciers all around the Arctic. They're changing much faster now than they ever had before, and that's where people start understanding the consequences and the significance of it.
And what is your hope for Chasing Ice?
My hope is that if the film can shift opinion and can change people's hearts and minds about climate change, about this issue, and if they can start to understand it in a way that hits them emotionally, then I would consider that a success. And we've heard so many stories of people being really impacted by the film. We just want to continue that outreach and that impact.
So thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate you being here with us today, especially to help honor the victims of Hurricane Sandy and also the anniversary of the storm.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for being here with us since our first report since the storm. I'm Dilbar Shatterson, and from Staten Island, we'll see you soon.